Shahad, a Bollywood movie in the 90s, recounts a story about a woman who lusts after the character played by Shah Rukh, harboring a fateful desire towards him, risking everything, including the lives of the people involved. It typically emphasizes the absence of reciprocity of love and the accompanying power game that fuels the idea that orbits murderous tendencies involving love. Dar, another one starring Shah Rukh, plunges on the same path, orchestrating a moving belief that love entices destruction if it transcends boundaries of sanity. Likewise, several examples from the book of Shah Rukh's compelling performances found a thundering refuge in my mind when I began watching a Kaali Ankhein on Netflix. Not sure if the title was a flattering tribute to some of Shah Rukh's anti-hero performances, which redefined the 90s. Unsurprisingly, the 8 episode series galvans off in the same direction, pushing the envelope in its pursuit. Although for the most part, I was busy evaluating which Shah Rukh's movie can be placed closest to the series. Tahir Bhasin, playing the central character right away, dives into the middle of a sustained predicament resulting from his peace-shattering confinement to helplessness. If it was an independent character supplementing Tahir, it would have definitely enjoyed a distinguished presence in a show that is entertaining in every frame. Right from the narrative to the performances of each cast member, the notion rubs itself off as the driving factor establishing harmony with Tahir's susceptibility, while attempting to come full circle during the length of the show. At one point in time, the depressing powerlessness of Tahir's character made me hit the note of despair to the point that I began to detect the well etched tone of his temperament teleporting into my subconscious. The show warms our heart by remaining true to the nature it strives to define and eventually achieves. The characterization can only be described as the best part of the show that runs like an ECG reading of an alive person from the get-go. Their interaction with each other never misses the beat. It constantly thrives as the narrative advances. The story and the soundtrack are the other two reasons that make it worth watching, indulging our senses with a mix of exceptional quality. Tahir as Vikrant finds himself slipping into a dangerous game after he is aggressively pursued by Purva, who is motivated by her father's political reach to dig her claws deep into his very life. The show encapsulates his relentless perseverance in the face of a certain trance to keep his loved ones safe, even if it meant sacrificing his desires in the bargain. Tahir keeps us engaged with his ethereal performance, putting the portrayal closer to reality without making it spiral into a toxic fantasy. His character arc is well defined with no place for any form of bleariness. During the series, his faculties constantly transform, which consequently reflect in his appearance as he interchangeably makes a shift from a confident lad to a certain someone who is emotionally scarred to entirely someone else who is scheming his way out of a difficult situation. He easily harbors a vast repertoire of character elements, striking a chord with the flow of the narrative. His resilience to stock love and hate in the same bracket comes bellowing out like an explosion of class that leaves a mighty good impression. On certain levels, we deduce that his portrayal has a fragment of similarity with what Shah Rukh did, playing these characters in the 90s. We see a befitting pool of lives breathing inside Vikrant's persona, either on the receiving end or the giving. All these facets of his personality open up each time a corresponding chapter fills up on parameters whose threads are linked to a character curled up inside him. The manifesting situations program his personality to peel off the layer to reveal an astonishingly surprising result, which allows him to stay one step ahead of the hunter. Shweta Tripathi as Shikha lends a meaningful presence with the portrayal by exhibiting agreeable character depth, becoming collateral damage in the game of desire. She is focused and ambitious, who wants to create another world with Vikrant with a fair contribution to the dream. Her character understandably bows out to the magnifying strength of Purva and her entourage after the latter stakes claim on Vikrant, literally chugging her out of the competition. Her character arc progresses on the premise that she would lend a worthy offering to spice up the stakes by becoming the third wheel. However, her tenure in the role of importance slips to second fiddle in quick succession. All thanks to how Anchal played her hand as Purva. Her character doesn't resonate a feverish amount of insanity for expressing her possessiveness towards Vikrant, which is a blessing in disguise for keeping the flow of theatrics in check. She walks around donning the appearance of a naive girl whose desires are automatically fulfilled, for hundreds of her father's henchmen are ready to dispatch at her whim should she need. It is beyond question that the authority end of the whip has been bestowed upon her, and she does a great job in controlling the reins as she desires. Her father is a feared man who constantly displays and wields his political axe to run down on the innocents. Using the trail of the dead ones, he has built his empire whose reach into the different parts of the country astounds the other characters and the audience alike. Saurabh Shukla has taken the role of a feared politician to his personal best with his enticing performance. Whether he is threatening, killing, or simply emoting any other emotion, he manages to keep his real identity of his character vocal at all times. His character does a lot to keep one frightened in his presence, and that, in my analysis, is a sign of a role well done. Other cast members don't feel like only relishing in the background. In fact, they keep bobbing their heads to extract our attention, only to go back and take their place once again. They do so out of turn to give veritable support to the main leads without being obscured into anonymity. The show works well in all departments and even makes for a franchise as the conclusion of the season doesn't conclude the series. We hope to see more character development shaping up in the upcoming seasons. Hopefully, it would substantiate the necessary hype that leads the show to a notable culmination. I would rate the show 4 and 5. Thank you.